Right, so it's that time of the month again, and by that I mean it's the end. Basically what I do at the end of every month is I take together everything I've watched, everything I've read, sometimes everything that I've played, but to be honest, most of this month I've kind of been dipping in and out of several different games, and I haven't really put enough time into anything to really talk about it. We did get quite a bit of new content, and even today they've dropped the TMNT characters in Sonic Cross Worlds. That's going to be today's stream, by the way, so if you're interested in seeing me play video games, do have a link to my Twitch in the description, so head on over there. I play pretty much anything and everything that kind of takes my fancy, and big announcement happening over on Twitch as well. All of next month I'm going to be doing charity streams raising money for Mind, so if you are in a position where you're able to help out by donating or anything else, I've even made it so that other people, if you have a platform yourself, you can sign up to the Tiltify page, which I will put in the description as well. You can sign up to that Tiltify page and you can do your own campaign spinning out of my campaign. That is only if you want. None of this is a must deal. But yeah, if you are in a position where you're able to donate, any donation, big or small, is massively appreciated. And also if you have a platform and you want to do your own little fundraiser for Mind as well, you can do that as well. But moving on to the regularly scheduled programming, I'm going to start off with the movies, because there was only one this month, and there were two. There was one cinema trip and one movie that I watched at home. The cinema trip was Supergirl. I was about to say I really liked Supergirl. That would be a lie. I didn't dislike Supergirl. I don't hold a very strong opinion on it either way, which I guess is the worst way to feel about a movie. The worst way to feel about anything is to come out of it and just think, it was alright. And that's really what I feel about Supergirl. I didn't even feel necessarily motivated to make a video about it specifically. I think a big reason as to why is because the last time I did a video, basically every time I've done a video about one of these superhero projects that's female fronted, I get death threats. Because apparently I'm too positive on these things. Apparently, if I say one good thing about She-Hulk, I've been paid off by Disney. Apparently, if I say one good thing about Ironheart, I've been paid off by Disney. To those people, I don't even get paid. So, yeah, trying to say that I've been paid off for saying something is okay. It's silly. Also, looking at I shouldn't let it affect me, but also, if I don't have enough to really say about these movies, I'm not gonna try and ramble for half an hour about something that I just thought was okay. Certainly don't think it was at the same level as Superman from last year. I thought that movie was great, and it affected me in a way that I didn't expect a Superman movie to affect me. I've never been a massive DC guy. I'm a bigger DC guy now than I used to be, but I didn't expect Superman of all things to kind of touch me on a personal level and kind of make me reevaluate my life and my moral values anyways. But this movie is just kind of like, it's just kind of, it needed more time in the oven, and it also needed more personality from the director. For a movie that, for a studio, for James Gunn to come out and say that he's putting directors at the forefront, he's going to make every movie have a distinct voice. Every project is going to feel different from the last. And that seems to hold true for something like Clayface. The Clayface trailers, neither of them have necessarily won me over. The second one much better than the first one, much better than the teaser trailer. If you're a horror person, you probably are already on board with that. But seeing more of the stuff and seeing the promise of a big monster Clayface by the end of that film, it's got me more invested. But it's a genre that I don't necessarily love anyway. So it's, if I enjoy that movie, it's more of a boon on the movie necessarily than the genre. But I'm more looking forward to that now than I was, and you certainly can't say that feels similar to any other DC thing that's been done before. And Lanterns looks really good as well, and it looks different. And apparently, people have seen early episodes of it already saying that it's great. I hope that it is. It looks it. Look, anyone who likes Hal Jordan, I think, is going to be disappointed. But I think the people like me that grew up on the DCAU, people, grew up on the Justice League animated series, Justice League Unlimited, they're gonna be happy that Jon Stewart's getting his place in the sun, basically. But those projects do feel different. This, to me, felt like the director was doing his best impression of James Gunn. It felt too similar to Guardians of the Galaxy. It felt too similar to the Superman movie from the year before. It felt like it was trying to be too much of a space comedy, whilst also being a kind of a dive into Supergirl's trauma and PTSD, and and the thing that I really didn't like is that the end of the movie it tries to make you think that Supergirl has learned, that Kara has learned something. But the thing that she does at the end of the movie kind of establishes, no, you haven't learned anything. Or the lessons you've learned haven't sunk in. And yeah, there are gonna be more movies, hopefully, that, will continue to even if there is no Supergirl 2, Supergirl is going to show up in more things, and she's going to be, her character arc is still going forward, but it just feels like Supergirl at the end of this movie, or Kara at the end of this movie, isn't as far forward in her character arc as she should have been, an hour and 58, and the movie kind of tries to tell you that she is further along than her actions kind of illustrate. The online discourse for the movie, even now, a month after it's come out, is still perplexing and awful. But that's the same response that every female-fronted superhero project or female-fronted anything gets. And, there's always going to be those basement dwellers that are like, Supergirl isn't hot enough. And, if Millie Alcock isn't hot enough, who is? What are you trying to say? Go touch grass. I don't know. Put some lettuce in your salad. Or put some lettuce in your sandwich. Put some lettuce in your salad. If you're having a salad, you've already got lettuce in it. I don't know. Anyway, that is the big movie of this last month that I watched. I just thought it was okay. I don't necessarily dislike it. Fucking Krem is a terrible villain, by the way. A terrible villain. I don't necessarily dislike it, but I didn't love it either. And it's kind of the worst way to feel about one of these movies, is just to be a bit meh on it. I also watched Nobody 2. I'm a big fan of the first Nobody, and this is more of the same. I don't necessarily think it has the same effect and the same charm a second time around. It just kind of, to me, was trying to recapture that magic in a bottle that the first movie did. And yeah, the fights are still fun. Yeah, Bob Odenkirk is still incredibly fun to watch. Yeah, I still like seeing Christopher Lloyd in things. But it just felt like you're doing the first movie again, just now you're in a theme park. And I liked it, it's fun, but it's not, I wouldn't go out and say it's a necessarily great film. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there is no Nobody 3. I wouldn't be surprised. Then we're moving swiftly on to TV. I've been watching X-Men 97. Not quite caught up with it yet. I've got last week's episode and today's episode to watch. But what I have watched, these first, 5 episodes, it's good. It hasn't had that, punch yet that I think the first series had. But then again, the first series was kind of spinning its wheels until episode 5. And then it's either episode 5 or episode 4 where, the big thing happens. And then it's just full steam ahead to the end. This series, for me, it still feels very haphazard. I'm still feeling like, where are we going? What's the point? Is this an apocalypse story? Is this, let's get everything in this kind of thing, because we're doing Apocalypse, we're doing 3 separate timelines, we're doing Weapon H, we're doing X Factor, we're doing X Force. Does feel like there's a lot going on, but I'm still enjoying it. It's still, the animation's still great, the fights are still great, the characters are still top notch, they're still absolutely on point. And the most shocking death, I think, so far in the whole series, so far. So yeah, I'm enjoying it, and I'm excited to see where the series goes. I'm excited to find out what is the point of all of this. What is the point of it all? Where are you going? What's the big end goal? Because if it is Apocalypse for season 2, where do you go season 3? Because you've done really big series 1 with Bastion, and you made a storyline that nobody likes into something that's brilliant. If you do Apocalypse season 2, where do you go season 3? And I know that they're going to get the what was it? The early 2000 suits, the Grant Morrison suits. They're going to get the Morrison suits by the end of this series. So, does that mean series 3 or season 3, Cassandra Nova? Possibly? I don't know, but and you've already done Genosha. You've already wiped that out. So what do you do with Cassandra Nova that's not that? I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about some books. I wrapped up Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I do have a video on this, but I'm going to be completely honest. I'm not hugely impressed with my video on this. Not that I disagree with any of the takes. I just feel like I wasn't the best at expressing my thoughts on this book in that video, and I'm not proud of it. But basically, what I will say about this book is I really liked it. I really liked the movie, and also now with the news that Ryan Gosling is going to be Ghost Rider, which that is perfect. I hope he's Danny Ketch. Because we've already had a movie fronted with Johnny Blaze, and those movies are campy schlock. They're not good. They are very fun to watch. They're not good. And we had Robbie Reyes in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I hope he's Danny Ketch, because that's the one that I don't think he's Andy, but that is the one. That is the one that hasn't been in anything yet. And also the logo is Danny's logo. So, that's my thoughts and feelings. And also, is this how you're doing Blade? Is this how you're basically the things that you wanted to do for the Blade movie are going to be reworked into the Ghost Rider movie? Blade's still going to be a part of it. But because I think it's obvious that they're setting up Midnight Suns. They introduced a lot of the horror themed characters in Werewolf by Night. You've got Moon Knight showing up as well. You've got Doctor Strange in this. You've got, obviously, Doctor Strange has been set up and multiple appearances. So that's got to be where you're going, right? It's got to be where you're going, because otherwise, what's the point of Werewolf by Night? What's the point of having Elsa Bloodstone in that movie? You can dye that actress's hair ginger, give her a ginger wig, and she looks more like Elsa Bloodstone. But anyways, Project Hail Mary, really liked it. Really liked the movie. This is probably the movie and this probably on par. This is, if you're more looking for the nitty-gritty science stuff, the book is for you. If you're more looking for a character piece, the film is probably for you. Both of them do different things a lot better, and so I can't really say that which one is good or not, which one is better or not, but both are very good. And this is probably one of the best books of the year for me. When I look back at the end of the year on all the books that I read, this is probably going to be up quite high. Something that I have started, but I'm not very far in at all. Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. This and the subsequent sequels have been on my shelf for a year at this point, and I'm finally getting into them. And this is basically like not quite Stone Age, I would say more Bronze Age fantasy. It's definitely the most fantastical, the most like traditional fantasy that I've jumped into, because Mistborn is very much like more leaning into going into an industrial age. Stormlight Archive is very much more like guerrilla tactics warfare in a fantasy setting. This feels like the most fantastical, the most traditionally fantasy. You know, we've got dragons, we've got like scorpion-like monsters, and I'm really into it. Obviously, I'm not that far in, and things can change, but I'm really on board. You know, we're basically getting through 3 POVs, 3 characters and 3 storylines that don't seem interlinked at the moment, but you know, we've got a lot of book left. There's plenty of time for those stories to get interlinked, and at this point there is a dragon, but it's a little baby dragon, and I think by the end of that book, that little baby dragon ain't gonna be a baby no more. if the cover is anything to allude to. But yeah, I'm really enjoying that. Really enjoying it. A lot more testicles than I expected, and by that I mean I didn't expect any testicles, and there's been 2 references to testicles in that, and one of them belonging to a giant rock troll. So there's something. We then have a stack of comics, and this is more of a normal, manageable amount of comics this month. I'm again not 100% caught up with everything comics wise. There's probably these are, you know, I get my comics at the start of every month, so stuff that's come out later in the month is going to be in next month's video. But anyways, that being said, big catch-up session was with Doctor Strange of Asgard. I'm finally finished with this series, and I will say Derek Landy now on Doctor Strange, the main Doctor Strange book, has found his feet, has found his voice, has found what he wants to do. Is it predominantly an Angela book? Maybe, but I don't think calling a book Angela is going to sell. But calling a book Doctor Strange, putting Angela in it, might sell. I don't know, how popular is Angela in Marvel Rivals? Let me know in the comments, and then that might track as to whether people, I don't know how many people that play Marvel Rivals are reading comics, but if you are a Angela main in that, would you buy an Angela fronted book? But that being said, Doctor Strange of Asgard, I don't think this is very good, but the ongoing Doctor Strange series is finding its feet. This is still Derek Landy doing his best way of making every character on Asgard a stand-up comedian. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. The ending kind of doesn't... Nothing about this book made me feel anything. And, you know, if Doctor Strange can keep... If Stephen can keep going from Asgard back to Midgard, or back to Earth, why is he even in Asgard in the first place? And I know it's because he wants to become the Sorcerer Supreme of somewhere else, of the Nine Realms, because Doom is now the Sorcerer Supreme of Earth. It doesn't make any sense. The actual plot of this doesn't make any sense. Stephen would fight Doctor Doom. Under any other writer, Stephen would just fight Doctor Doom. Because even with the cloak, even with the Eye of Ashanti, Stephen's still probably the better spellcaster. So for Stephen to basically run away to Asgard doesn't really make sense to me. And the whole thing of not telling Thor this murder has taken place doesn't make sense either, and kind of being all sneaky doesn't make sense either. Nothing in this book makes sense. And I'm glad that Derek Landy has had enough time on Doctor Strange to finally find his voice, to finally find his story, and to make it work, and to kind of get there. But this ain't it. This really ain't it. We then have Fantastic Four, and, you know, Ghost Rider movie is coming out in a couple of years. This book is about Johnny Storm trying to pretend to be Johnny Blaze, pretend to be Ghost Rider, scaring all of the Fantastic Four's villains, basically so that they leave the Fantastic Four alone for a while. And this is a fun book. It's a fun issue. I want them to get back to an arc. And obviously, like, next month, we've got the 60th anniversary issue. And I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see what they do. And, you know, I just want a Fantastic Four story. I just want a 5-issue arc at this point. These one and dones, the one and dones are great if the story itself is great. And Johnny Storm pretending to be Johnny Blaze, pretending to be Ghost Rider. It feels like a Venture Brothers kind of thing. It feels like a parody. And yeah, Ryan North is like a funny guy, and he likes writing funny books. But the joke wears thin, and the joke of Johnny Storm being a bit of an idiot wears thin. But yeah, this is just not. It's not for me at this point. The Fantastic Four book has been up and down under Ryan North. Some people really love it. Some people are like, this is some of the best stuff that Marvel is doing. For me, I'm waiting for a story. I'm waiting for an arc. I'm waiting for something. I'm waiting for that issue to grab me. They have had issues that has grabbed me in the past. But I'm waiting for the shoe to drop, and I'm waiting for the point, basically. Either that, or I'm waiting for a new writer. That's mean. I'm sorry, Ryan North. You have written comic books that I like. None of them spring to mind at the moment, but I'm sure you have. We then have Doctor Strange talking about this book. I know I mentioned that Derek Landy is finding his feet. Unfortunately, he's finding his feet when other Marvel books and other books from other companies have found their feet and are running and sprinting. And I reckon by issue 16, if we get that far, Derek Landy will be sprinting. But at the moment, he's just kind of got off the starting line in terms of writing a good Doctor Strange book. It took him 8 issues, but he's finally started to get there, and I'm interested by this storyline that's going on. I'm excited to see where it's going. But it does feel like we're packing a lot of characters in, and Doctor Strange is being left. I will say the artwork is getting leaps and bounds better than issue 1. Even at issue 8, we're starting to see this development of the artist, and that's always great to see. Even if the book is not at the quality that I would like it yet, we are seeing a artist develop and grow and develop a style, and that is something that I'm always going to champion. We then have the Infernal Hulk. This is a series that I've found very perplexing, weird, and a little bit disappointing. This is kind of an issue that slows it down a bit. We get reintroduced to Scar. We're kind of like he's gonna be the Hulk that's going to rise up and challenge the Infernal Hulk, and this storyline is going to be going on for a while. We've got this whole Hulk war that's going to be going on later on in the year. I don't know what we're doing at this point. It still feels like we're spinning our wheels, and the book doesn't look necessarily that good. Nick Klein has been off for a few issues, and the book doesn't look great. And it's a weird book that doesn't really make any sense. I don't know where it's going. I hope it gets back to just being Hulk stories again, because Philip Kennedy Johnson could write a Hulk story. He had a really good 30-issue run on Hulk, and it became the Infernal Hulk, and it's gone down a cliff. Basically, I don't really find this that interesting at all. Unfortunately, hopefully it gets better. Hopefully, when we start to figure out what's going on, it becomes good. But as it stands right now, it's not my favourite. I will just say that. It's not my favourite. We then have Punisher number 6. This is the start of a new arc introducing this new villain called Collateral Damage. Too long a name. Need to shorten that down. Coldam might be better. Or just Collateral might be good as well. Drop the damage. But I mean, it's a really cool design, but this issue is basically just a series of murders that are taking place, and the police and Punisher are kind of coming to the same conclusion that these murders that are being taken place are all being done with the same bullet, the same gun, and it's not the Punisher because he doesn't use this kind of technology. Well, obviously Frank knows that it's not him because he's Frank. He knows what he's doing. At least at this point, he knows what he's doing. But yeah, this officer that was a part of the miniseries is now being folded into this series. This is kind of just introducing, we're going to have something new to deal with. I think this is only going to be like a 2-issue little interlude thing, and then we're doing stuff with Deadpool. We're going to have a Deadpool crossover. I like this, but again, very light on actual content here. And this happens sometimes when you get into a series with Marvel. The deeper into a series you get, the less stuff you actually get in a single book. and I know that's called padding for a trade, but if this is only a 2-issue, like, mini story, or, like, interlude thing, you know, I was hoping for a bit more here than what we actually got. And unfortunately, the same can kind of be said for Daredevil. This is still an interesting book. We still haven't had the big reveal of who Omen is. And I think the big tease is that it's going to be happening next issue, that we're going to find out who he is. But yeah, it's still very much like Daredevil on the hunt for this new villain called Omen, and we're going to find out all the secrets next issue. But this issue is just action sequence and more stuff with this cop duo that's kind of on Matt Murdock's tail, and they're trying to find out who Omen is as well. This is a good series. I mean, Stephanie Phillips knows how to write a book, but it feels like it's spinning its heels even at issue 4, and I don't like to see that. I don't like to see that. But what I will say is, it looks nice. It's well written. Stephanie Phillips has a good voice for Matt Murdock and Daredevil. It does feel like it's a very straightforward story. And it's certainly a lot better than the previous run. Certainly a lot better than the Saladin Ahmed run. And I didn't hate that book until it got to weird places with a man made of plants calling Daredevil a simp. That was a weird book. It's a weird book. We're then getting into books that I genuinely really liked, and starting off with The Mortal Thor. I really like this series. Changing the artist to Hazza Saiz now. Really, really fun. Really fun choice. I really like whenever he's on a book and he feels right for the story that they're telling. And I'm excited that we're ramping up to a point where Thor's going to be coming back soon. And I think after the 800 issue, or the issue 800, I think it's just going to be called Thor. And I really am excited to see where that goes, because this is kind of like, Donald Blake is not Donald Blake. Donald Blake is actually the Midgard Serpent, and our main character isn't a manifestation of Thor or a personification of Thor. It's more the soul of Donald Blake coming back. And yeah, we're getting a lot of really cool reveals in this. This is Al Ewing at his best. And Al Ewing has been known to write really good books. And I think this is another one of those. Unfortunately, his other books, Venom and Absolute Green Lantern, aren't this. But if you are an Al Ewing fan and you want to read something that feels like Al Ewing back from the old days, this is probably the closest thing you're going to get. This is a genuinely really good story, lots of twists and turns. I'm really enjoying it. But I'm not enjoying it as much as other books. I'm not enjoying it as much as Iron Man #7. This is just Tony and Rhodey sitting in a tree, talking, having a fight. Not a like punchy fisticuffs fight, but having a kind of spout of minds, and it ends with essentially Rhodey's going to be in the book more, and that's always fun. They always do these kind of issues, and it's always it always ends up being an issue 7 of an Iron Man run where they're like, hey, Rhodey's a character, War Machine's cool, people like War Machine, War Machine's going to be in our book more. That always seems to happen at an issue 7, and I'm not complaining, it's just something that I've noticed with a lot of previous Iron Man runs. It always gets to issue 7 and they're like, hey, here's War Machine. Remember him? He's cool. He's going to be in the book more. But yeah, we're setting up that the next issue is going to be a fight against Whiplash. I really like Whiplash's design. Unfortunately, the actor in the movie is a bit of a, but you know, we're not talking about the movie. We're talking about Whiplash in the comics, which I don't think I've actually read a comic with Whiplash in. He's not shown up for a while, so it's going to be exciting to see him coming back, and that's what I really like about Joshua Williams's Iron Man run is we're getting some classic villains showing up. We're getting Fixer. He's not been seen in a while. We're getting Madame Mask. Last time we saw her, she was doing weird magic shit. She was possessed by a demon or something. And now we're getting Whiplash, who's a really cool kind of classic Iron Man villain that we haven't seen in a while as well. I hope we get to see more stuff like that going forward. I know that apparently they teased at Comic-Con that Tony Stark is going to prison. So apparently Rhodey's going to be the main character in the Iron Man book going forward, which I don't mind. I really don't mind. The final 2 books are both from DC. DC's just killing it. I think they're putting out... Their books are consistently better quality-wise. Don't really care about sales. Don't really care about... And it's funny that they didn't really show off much outside of the comic book stuff at Comic-Con, which I think is really smart, because the comics that they've been putting out are really, really good. And Fury of Firestorm might be edging out when I do that big ranking every comic I read in 2026 video. This is going to be very, very high. Unless the next 4 issues are terrible. But I very much doubt that. Fury of Firestorm continues to be really good. This issue is basically just a chat between Firehawk and Martin Stein. And we get kind of big reveals that that the kind of romance between Firestorm and Firehawk was more engineered and was less a fate of chance and more a fate of... was less fate and more orchestrated by Martin Stein. And we're getting more and more information that makes Martin Stein a terrible person. And it doesn't feel like a character assassination. It kind of just feels like, yeah, this kind of makes sense for the character. When this arc kind of wraps up, and this is what I'm worried about, is that this is a mini-series. I don't think there's been any confirmation whether this is or isn't a mini-series. I feel like it will be very difficult to do an arc after this one, because Firestorm has killed people. Firestorm has destroyed cities, and not through big fights with supervillains, through basically being, basically kind of realizing he's got the power of God, essentially, by taking out his humanity and just making him a curious, godlike being. I think this book is really good. I'm really worried about about where it can go once this arc is done. I'm saying that because we're approaching issue 6, and usually that's how comic book arcs go. They're usually 5 to 6 issues. If they are longer, it's an outlier, that's not the rule. It tends to be more 5 issues now than 6. It used to be always 6. Now it's more 5. It's either that or the whole run is one story arc, and that run lasts 10 issues. Last book that I want to talk about, and my favourite of the month, is always Superman. This is still Superboy Prime. He's dealing with Manchester Black, and this is basically Superboy Prime travelling through different comic book genres. This is the most fourth wall breaking issue yet, and it's all because of Manchester Black doing hijinks, and he's kind of learnt about the fourth wall as well by spending some time in Superboy Prime's brain. And this is just a really fun book. Really fun book. If you're not reading Superman, jump on it. I mean, you've got 40 issues to catch up on, so you might be there for a while. But yeah, I'm so glad I decided to pick up Superman, because from issue 1 to issue 40, there hasn't been a dull issue. There have been some that haven't been as good as others, but there hasn't been a bad issue. And yeah, Joshua Williamson is very quickly actually climbing the ranks of my favourite comic book authors list. Yeah, that's basically it. That's everything. I got through this relatively quickly, actually. I think that's mainly because I haven't really read that much, and I usually have more. I know last video I had more stuff to talk about TV wise. I took about half an hour talking about Tiptoe, which hopefully nothing else I watched this year is as scarring as that. But you know, shows like that are important. Anyways, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you've read anything that I mentioned in this video, let me know in the comments below what you thought of them. What is your favourite comic coming out at the moment? I know a lot of people are going to say Absolute Batman, and I'm kind of seething that I didn't jump on that when I had the opportunity to, because now that is one of the biggest books basically coming out. That's one of the biggest books on the shelf, and there's an animated series coming. The Absolute Universe is huge now, and I didn't jump on it, and I'm all the worse off for it, because there's pretty much something for everyone there. But anyways, I will see you guys in the next video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, all that lovely good stuff. Check out the Twitch, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.